Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. A lot of us as parents, a little challenged knowing that our kids are watching certain things on TV, looking at social media, certain types of video games and such. So refreshing to see a great book come along where there's life lessons, there's lessons about the environment, other species, and just a great book. It's called Jack Sprout, and we have the author of the book today, Jack Wayne Shoop, joins us on the program, live and direct today from Hawaii. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Hello out there, and good to be here.
I'm fascinated by you and your life and where you've been. You've been in Hawaii before. Didn't you live there for a while?
Yeah, I lived there 30 years, from 85 to 15 on the Big Island. I still have a house there where, you rent out, and but I live in, the mainland now. I'm enjoying it, but I will be moving back here probably a year or two because be around my son. I like hanging around him.
So Kentucky is where you call home right now?
Yeah, Kentucky is beautiful. I'm going to miss it. The green pastures and the people, and just green pastures, man. I can't ask for more than just acres and acres of green grass. And of course, a lot of people say, "Oh, we'll go build some homes on that grass," but they need it for their horses, so it'll always be there.
So the book Jack Sprout, Beaver Creek Meadow. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Jack Sprout in Beaver Creek Meadow.
What inspired the scene for that book? Does that come from the hills of Kentucky or another area?
No, I was in Oregon when I wrote it, when I started writing it, but I was selling sunflower sprouts. There's sunflower seed, like you eat, but I was using black oil. And they get to be, you plant them in the soil and they get to be about 8 inches tall. You cut them and you take them to the store and deliver them there, or at restaurants, make sprout salad. So I was doing that in Oregon, and they started calling me Jack Sprout. So I said, well, I got to create this character. And I just came up with a life based on what I was doing, farming and delivering and stuff. And now the people that you meet that you need to help you along the way. So that's kind of how I got started. But my background for that was Iowa. I lived in the country. I didn't have running water until I was like 7 or 8. And then but my grandparents were farmers. I'm talking horse and buggy, no electricity farmers in the early 1890s and so on. That's how they started. So there's a lot of stories from there. And from 1890 back to day zero, all the farming was the same. They were farming with horses. So until tractors came along, it was pretty much the same. So I enjoyed all those stories, and I wanted to incorporate those in the book.
While I was away, there was a field next to where I was staying. I was at an Airbnb, and there was a horse there, and they would just tie it up during the day. They didn't need the horse for there was tours going on, but this is one extra horse, and I felt bad for him. And I would go over there. I would feed him multiple times in the day. I would give him fresh water. There were some times where the horse was tied up, and construction was done a long time ago. There was like cement and rebar, and it would get tied around around the cement. It couldn't even move its head to get something to eat.
Wow, that's abuse. Good for you.
Like that's not happening in my watch. So, I freed it.
Yeah.
But it made me have a even deeper appreciation of horses and what smart, wonderful animals they are.
Yeah. Well, they're they don't jump on your lap and they don't do a lot of crazy things, so you think they're just standing around. But yeah, they're
Right.
paying attention and they know what's going on. And what's fun and fascinating to me is that they're a herd animal. They like to have another horse around. They don't like being out by themselves. So I'm glad you went over and helped that poor guy.
That was the horse. And I look forward to it every day. I mean, I would check on it and I've heard from many that they are extremely intelligent and, if you believe it, telepathic, where they can pick up on what you're thinking.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, they're like you said, doesn't jump in your lap, doesn't do a lot of things your dog might do, but
yeah.
they're
Well, I get a lot of horse stuff on my TikTok because that's, where I live. But there's ladies that will start singing and the horse will stop, come over and listen to them, and they'll lay down with them. I mean, they're
wow,
very intuitive. Yeah. They're
intuitive.
not just, everybody's got a brain. So and they can see almost 360. There's a couple blind spots, but they know what's going on.
And it's funny because, and we'll jump into the book, but I just got a memory. There was one time where I was like, let me pet the horse's back, and wasn't happy with it, and could have kicked the you know what out of me, but
Yeah.
just raised its back leg and just kind of went like this, like, I don't like that, and you can don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
it had the power of doing whatever it wanted to do, but it didn't.
Oh yeah. And the
Mm.
foot comes sideways too. You don't expect that.
Yeah, yeah, and I jumped out of the way for a second, but again, I mean, if that horse wanted to, knock me down or knock me 50 feet with its, back leg,
Yeah.
it could have, but it was just
Yeah.
basically saying, I'm not into that rubbing my back right now. You can pet my head, you do whatever you want, but or feed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just wonderful, majestic animal. So we have
Oh
another
yeah.
one that gets us into this is chapter, I'm trying to remember, is this nine?
No, we're on chapter 10
10.
today.
Okay,
I think you're gonna like this and you wanted some action, so you might like this.
let's dig on in.
Okay, I just want to let everybody know that I'm in Honolulu at my son's ulu chip factory, where they take breadfruit that's grown around the equator around the world and turn it into hummus
Mm,
and ulu chips. And they just bought a cookie factory called Keith Cookie.
wow.
So you can buy my dolls here and my books, and all the books are autographed. And I've got a couple of guys, they're about 50 years old, that came by and bought the book, told me they read the book. I said, "Oh, you buy it for your grandkids?" They go, "No, we love it. I read it for me, and I think it flows well. I like your style of writing,
Mm.
and it's all about nature, which I love that subject, and it's very educational.
Well,
So
I
that's
just learned about horses from you.
so yeah, there's a lot of different age groups love this book. So I'm going to read chapter 10 today. This is a story of Red Tail McAllister. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
In chapter 9, I visited Aunt Jerry and Uncle Dale's honey farm. I saw their honeybee squadron. They really scared me the first time I saw them. Now that I know how important they are to our plants, I really like them. Of course, I still stay out of their way. I had planted the seeds that I got from Barley and Iris Miller in the fresh soil fertilized by early worm. Since I was now a part of the community, I wanted to hear some of the stories of Beaver Creek Meadow. I really wanted to hear the story about the red-tailed hawk, Red-tailed McAllister. I had seen his large shadow many times. I thought I'd ask the oldest neighbor in the meadow, and that, of course, was Grandma Irma Elderberry. But when I asked her to tell the story, her face turned from a happy face to a sad and frightened face. Oh, my, yes. I know the story, she said with a shaky voice. I know it very well, but I don't ever want to repeat it. Redtail is a friend of the meadow, but he scared the life out of me once. Please ask someone else. Okay, Grandma, I said, I'm sorry to frighten you. I asked Fred Beaver, and he told me the same thing. Yeah, I know the story, but I don't want to tell it around the kids. They're too young, and you'll have to ask someone else. Wow, it must be a really wild story, I said. No one wants to tell it. It's a wild one, all right, said Fred. I thought you said Sawdust Miller would tell you the story someday. That's right, he did. I'll go see him. But when I asked Sawdust Miller, he told me to go see Captain Barry. Captain Barry was on the docks that fateful day and saw everything, said Sawdust. I was home in my redwood tree and only heard about it. Let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. Go see Captain Barry. He's not afraid to tell a story. Thanks, Sawdust. I'll go see the captain. I went down to the dock and found a friendly brown bear, Captain Barry, sitting on one of his favorite tugboats, the little dude. Hey, Jack Sprout, how you doing? I've come down to ask you to tell me a story, I said. Hey, that sounds like fun. Which one do you want me to hear? The one where I rescued 5 sailors one day, or when I saved 2 boats on Big River after they had broke loose? No, no, I shouted. The one about Redtail McAllister, the Redtail Hawk. Whoa, say you don't mess around. That's the best story ever to come out of Beaver Creek Meadow. Yeah, I'll tell you the story of Redtail McAllister. It was a scary lesson to learn and one we all need to remember. Let's go see High Mountain Harry so he can help me tell the story. If one of us forgets something or starts making things up, the other one can keep the story straight. Wow, that's great. 2 storytellers. I showed up at the dock the next morning just as the sun peeked over the northeast forest. I had a basket of fresh peas, carrots, tomatoes, and other goodies. Captain Barry was happy to see the fresh food and ate some of the tomatoes right away. With tomato juice dripping down his chin, I said, let's take the I call birch bark canoe, I call Tippy, and go as far as we can up West Side Creek. When it gets too narrow or rocky, we'll tie up and go the rest of the way on foot. Since I'm the captain, you'll have to paddle. It'll be upstream against a strong current, but you look strong enough. Is that okay? That sounds good for you. We started up West Side Creek and passed Farmer Smith's farm, then past Grandma Elderberry's orchard. Next came the elm tree where Professor Robin, Dr. Ann Wheatfield lived. Then we went under the trail of the Big Trees Bridge as I paddled and paddled and paddled some more. Captain Barry was busy steering the canoe away from fallen logs and rocks that were sticking up above the rushing water. When we started bumping up against the bottom of the creek, we knew it was time to pull over to the bank. We tied Tippy canoe to a tree. The trail was rocky and hard to climb. Captain Barry got down on all 4 of his strong bare legs and made good time. I didn't go as fast as I only had 2 legs. Besides, I had to carry the food basket. We finally made it to the cave of the old white-haired goat, High Mountain Harry. We called out several times before Harry stuck his head out of his rocky cave. What are you doing up here? What do you want? Why are you bothering me? He growled. I didn't say a word. I let the captain do the talking. Oh, calm down, Harry, said Captain Barry. We came up here to keep you company. I don't want any company, Harry snorted. I live up here because I like it that way, nice and quiet. Only me, the rocks, the wind, and a few high-soaring birds. Well, we came up here to talk about one of those birds, Redtail McAllister. Redtail McAllister, look out. Where is he? Is he coming? Is he with you? No, no. Don't worry, Harry. He's not with us. We need to tell Jack Sprout about the time he scared the life out of us. Oh, that story. Sorry, I got a little shaky there, said Harry. I like Redtail all right, but he's always after me to keep my trails cleared. I don't like visitors much, so sometimes I let the trails become blocked with rocks. No problem for me, but it keeps those weak in the knees away, you know. Oh, well. Okay, I'll help you tell the story. Did you bring me any food? We sure did, I said. Fresh off the farm. Then let the storytelling begin, said Harry. First, we need to say how these mountains, valleys, forests, woods, creeks, wetlands, and meadow looked before that fateful day, started Harry. Too many trees were being cut down for heating our homes and cooking. There was lots of bare patches of mountainside with no tree roots. When the heavy rains came, the water pushed the loose soil and limbs down into the streams and creeks. Yeah, that made it tough to steer my boats, and the fish couldn't swim around, added Captain Barry. Plus, the smoke from the fires clouded up the sky. It was hard to breathe, and it even hurt your eyes. On some days, it was so bad I couldn't see the meadow from my cave. Even the rainbows were dirty, added Harry. Also, farmers were plowing up their fields, leaving the topsoil unprotected. A lot of good soil just blew away. All that dust made it hard for the bees to get their nectar and spread the pollen around. The flour mill dumped old flour in the creek, making the fish sick and polluting our clean, clear creek. The trash wasn't being taken to Early Worm's farm. Whoa, I broke in. That sounds terrible. What was everyone thinking? Well, I guess we weren't thinking, said Captain Barry. Redtail McAllister sure didn't like what was happening. You know about his dives. He has one for every reason. He made up some new dives just to show us what we were doing to the meadow. He got our attention with a low, wounded wing flutter dive through the heart of the meadow. When the smoke was really bad, he made screeching coughing noises with a wobbly upside down dive over the treetops. His swooning dives over the bare mountainsides and the splash dives in the dirty creeks always got our attention. We knew what the dives meant, and he was right, piped in Harry, but we didn't think it was that serious. Redtail was lose his patience and be gone for weeks at a time. He didn't want to watch his beautiful high mountain meadow treated without respect. There was talk about making things better, but nothing ever changed. We just thought that's how we were supposed to live. That's kind of where it goes when nobody tells you anything, right? You just keep going.
Mm.
Boy, were we ever wrong, shouted Captain Barry. Redtail McAllister had all he could stand. He had enough of clogged streams, smoky skies, mountain mudsides. He was steaming mad, hopping mad, and we were in for it. It happened late one summer afternoon, began Harry, during a colorful but hazy sunset over the west woods. Some of us were in our homes, and some were working or walking around the meadow. All of a sudden, Redtail McAllister flew across the sky with blazing speed, way faster than anyone had ever seen him go before. He left thick white vapor trails as he raced back and forth from the east woods over the meadow to the west woods and back again. Then he turned sharply and raced straight into the sky. His intense speed caused friction in the clouds and made lightning and thunder ring out. That really frightened us. We were all very scared. Let the captain tell you the rest of the story, because I get weak knees on the next part. Takes two to tell this story, Jack Sprout, continued Captain Barry. I was on the docks when Redtail started making his terrifying low-level flights. He raced around our homes, up and down Beaver Creek, up and down Old Pal Road, around the edge of the meadow. He created a loud, powerful, gusty, swirling, cold, menacing wind. Redtail kept up his ear-splitting, high-speed flights. It seemed like forever. It was as he didn't like us or care about us anymore. His speedy flights created a strong tailwind that followed closely behind him. It got stronger and stronger until it became like a giant, powerful vacuum. We hid it as best we could. The air was full of flying tree limbs, rooftops, farmers' buckets, and anything else not tied down. He made several more passes through the meadow before heading straight up to the sky again. This time, the strong tailwind followed him, and the meadow air became still, very, very still. In fact, there is precious little air left. Redtail McAllister has sucked all the air out of Beaver Creek Meadow. That's what happens when you don't watch nature, huh? When you don't take care of nature. Something's going to happen. I'll finish up, Captain Barry. You're about to blow a gasket, said Harry. I thought we were goners for sure, Jack Sprout. Bodies lay on the ground, and many were crying. Grandma Elderberry got lightheaded, fell off her limb, and broke a leg. Fish jumped out of the water, gasping for air. Honeybees crashed into each other. Worms wiggled around in crazy circles all over the ground, and birds fell out of the sky. The rest of us fell down weak and exhausted, with no air to breathe. We knew we were all going to die. Wow. Then a wonderful thing happened, sighed Harry. A cool, fresh breeze drifted down the mountainside and filled our lungs with precious air again. It was the most wonderful feeling you could ever have. We were breathing again, and no one had died. That's when Redtail McAllister came staggering out of the East Woods. He was worn out and haggard looking. Most of his strong, colorful feathers were broken or missing. His normally clear, bright eyes were cloudy and hollow. His legs were shaking so badly that he was barely able to stand. The high-speed flying and tight turns had taken their toll on him, said Harry. What have you done? We all shouted. How could you do this to us? We thought you were a friend. Look around, wheezed Redtail. Look what you've done to our high mountain meadow home. You're killing it. You keep this up, and we'll all die from the smoky skies, pollution, dirty water, and barren hillsides. Never will I let you treat our home like this again. Remember this day for the rest of your lives, shouted Redtail McAllister, with all the energy he had left in his body. With that, the tired red-tailed hawk turned and limped back into the East Woods. He wasn't seen again for several months as his wounds slowly healed. Finally, when fully recovered, he began patrolling our high mountain meadow skies once again. After that day, said Harry, we stopped our bad habits and began taking better care of our high mountain meadow. Beaver Creek Meadow is now the colorful, lush, healthy place you see today. The land is green and clean, the sky and waters are clear, and the rainbows are bright. We've learned our lesson. Well, Jack Sprout, that's the story of Redtail McAllister, the red-tailed hawk. Now you know, Camberry said. Wow, that's the greatest story I've ever heard. I'll be sure to get off on the right foot with Redtail. He won't have any trouble with me, I promise. So you got to take care of your land or something's going to happen, right?
Where did the inspiration to use a red-tailed hawk in a book come from?
Well, I had at one point when we were young and crazy in our late 20s, early 30s, we all got nicknames. We all gave ourselves nicknames. There's
Uh-huh.
four. Rapid Fire was one nickname. Purely True was a nickname. And I had Breezy Dugan with my nickname. And our other friend called himself Redman McAllister. But I couldn't use Redman for reasons. So I used Redtail, which worked pretty good. So Redtail, in the book, he's the one that rides the jet streams all day, looking over the land and taking care of it. And if anybody's not doing something right, he'll swoop down and tell them about it.
Mm.
So I used that. Yeah, I used that name from one of our friends.
Final question, because we're out of time here today, but I'm curious. Out of all the animals in your book, and we haven't gotten to all of them yet, but
Yeah.
so far, or maybe all of them, pick one who if you could change who you are and be that animal, which one would it be?
Would be Jack Sprout. Is that fair? You want another one? Another answer? Because Jack Sprout does what I do. I go around and watch other people work and find out what they're doing and relate to it that way.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I like to be a friend to several different people, but I'm not their best friend, but I'm an okay friend. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
So, that's what I would do.
I get you. I get you. It's almost like you got your hands in every pot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Wow.
You learn a lot, but you don't have to do that. But see here, I'm packaging, I'm cleaning, I'm cutting, I'm stacking.
Yeah.
So it's I'm learning,
That,
I like to do different stuff, but I'd probably be Jack Sprout.
yeah. Well, yeah, in a way, that's your meadow at the moment where you are
Right.
now, you know?
That's right. That's
Love
right.
the book. Just good stuff in there. JackSprout.com. I
Yeah.
know that you would entertain even licensing of the character or its likeness.
Well, just you saying that, uh,
Oh, look at that.
Ulumana is the name of this company. So they're thinking about using Jack Sprout as their logo,
Love
as
it.
as their character because he's a farmer and it would fit right in with what they're doing. So I'm working on these guys.
Billion%. Yeah, work on them.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'll be here the next two weeks. I'll be here until middle of July.
Fantastic. Jack, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for enlightening us with more from the meadow, and we'll get together next time.
All right, thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.